they are disabled, their name goes into a computer. It gets transferred to the State Department of Education in Florida. And by the end of the month, an electronic transfer of funds is sent from the state to the district. It's called a welfare check for miseducating black children. And if you want to know why they don't like to take black kids out of special ed, that's exactly why. Because it's not financially in their best interest. So let me ask you this then. If a black special ed kid in St. Petersburg is worth an extra $7,000 for 1 year, if you put him in special ed in the second grade, he got 10 more years. 10 years times 7,000 is $70,000 for one kid. What about 100? What about 1,000? Exactly how much money is St. Petersburg Public School District making off of black kids in the name of special education? You parents need to also know that you can take your kid out of special ed whenever you feel like it. All you have to do is call an IEP meeting. IEP teams determine program, placement, and progress. So if you don't agree that this special ed classroom is not benefiting your child, you call an IEP meeting and you tell them, I want to change my daughter's placement. She no longer needs this class because she's not learning anything in here. All they do is fill out photocopies and watch Sesame Street in the 8th damn grade. I've had enough. Take her out. They give you a piece of paper, you sign, she goes back to the regular class. Now the school district does have the option of challenging your decision, and they can take you to due process with the state where they complain that this kid really does need special ed and we don't agree with the parent, at which time the state will decide whether they agree that the child should need special ed or not. However, 95% of the time when you want to exit your child, they will exit the child. But some of you like special ed. You know why? Because it is a world of low expectations. Once your child goes into special ed, they are no longer expected to do as well as everyone else. And you also love special ed because of the social promotion privilege. When children go to special ed, they are automatically promoted to the grade that is commensurate with their age. So, let's say I tested a 13-year-old. He failed 3 times. He's in the 6th grade. He shouldn't be in the 9th. The minute Dr. Johnson qualifies that kid with a reading disability, guess what? Tomorrow he will be sitting in a 9th grade class and still can't read. He'll be graduating in 4 years and still can't read because special education allows you to socially promote kids who haven't learned a damn thing. And what you parents also need to understand is that if you don't agree with the evaluation that the school district has conducted on your child, you have a right to an independent educational evaluation. I hope you are listening to me. Because some of you think that when the school tests your child and say that he's autistic or retarded or emotionally disturbed or reading disabled, that there's nothing you can do. That is incorrect. Federal law gives you the right to disagree with the conclusion of the evaluation, and you have a right to request an independent evaluation where you find your own Florida state-certified school psychologist to evaluate your child, and the school district must pay the bill. That is the law. That is the law. And guess what? If your child was in special ed for a couple of years and your child has not learned anything all those years in special education, you can make St. Petersburg schools pay for your child to go to a private school. Federal law says that if the parent can prove that the school district cannot meet the needs of their special education child, that school district must pay. That school district must pay. That school district must pay for that child to go to an approved private school. And then there's something known as compensatory education. Compensatory education says, if your child was diagnosed as retarded in the 2nd grade, and you found out in the 8th grade that it was a misdiagnosis, the school district now owes you compensatory ed for the 6 years your child was in special ed. So they have to financially and mathematically add up 180 school days a year times 6 years that your kid sat in a special ed class and should have never been there, and that money goes into an account, and you now can pay for tutoring, special programs, and therapy to help reverse the effects of special ed that your child never needed in the first place. It also works in the other direction. They told you that your child did not qualify for speech and language. You found out 5 years later they truly did have a speech and language impairment. Well, guess what? They owe you. Count and for all the years your child should have been in special ed and was denied the service. 180 days times how many years that money goes into an account, and you can spend that money on services relevant to the child's disability. But you need to know that there's a statute of limitations on educational claims, and that's only 2 years. Before it was unlimited. But black parents have been waking up all across the country and fighting for their child's rights, and as a result of that, the feds created a 2-year statute of limitations. But there's something else you parents need to know. If your child is in special ed and it's time to graduate and they're not ready to graduate, give the diploma back and let the school know you're not done. Because under special ed law, a child with a disability can be educated to age 21 years old. 21 years old or high school graduation, whichever comes first. I had a situation in Lower Merion School District, Kobe Bryant's high school. Latino mother, Dr. Johnson, my son graduates next week. I just found out he can't read. What should I do? How old is he? 17. Give the diploma back. Well, what do you mean? I mean that special ed goes up to age 21. So if Lower Merion High School did not properly educate your child, let them know that you don't agree with him being graduated at this time, and you are opting to extend his services until age 21. Well, my son is not going to go back to high school after all his friends have graduated. He doesn't have to. Lower Merion High School is going to hire a tutor that's going to come out to your home or meet your son at the local library. And every day for 5 days a week until he is academically competent, they will tutor that boy until he's ready to graduate, until you're ready to have him graduate. It's never over. But what some of you parents want to do, because you like keeping up with the Joneses and you care more about how you look than how your child is doing, you let that kid graduate knowing damn well he can't read or count, only to be introduced into a life of crime on the streets of St. Petersburg. These are the facts of the situation. And then we got to talk about this ADHD nonsense. Good God Almighty. I'm willing to bet that at least 25% of you got kids on Ritalin, or Adderall, or Concerta, or Metadate, or Vyvanse, or Prozac, or Paxil, or Risperdal, or Depakote in the name of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. $30 billion a year is what Wall Street makes off of Negro parents putting their kids on crack for babies. Let's look at this thing called ADHD. First of all, it started as ADD. In 1980, attention deficit disorder was added to the DSM-2 or 3. Was that a coincidence that they put ADD in the diagnostic manual in 1980? Hell no. That was on purpose, because what was going on in America in 1980? The CIA just dropped off crack cocaine in the ghettos. And they started mass incarcerating black men for selling the CIA's dope. And so the men were going to jail with the black boys still at home, no daddy and only a mother. And because fathers are usually the disciplinarians in the home, without the daddy being there, the boy got a little bit more free with himself. And instead of just blaming this on what it naturally was, the removal of the father from the home, they blamed it on your son's brain. And they came up with this condition called ADD. And then they came out with the drug for ADD, methylphenidate. And then 7 years later, 1987, they added an H to ADHD, an H to ADD, making it attention deficit hyperactivity activity disorder. Why did they add the H? Why did ADD have to become ADHD? Because there's no drug that can make your child pay attention. So they were losing money on the stock market with ADD because there wasn't enough prescriptions being written. So 7 years later, the drug companies forced the Psychiatric Association to put an H to justify medication of all black boys. Oh yes. And have you looked at the criteria for ADHD? And if you don't own the DSM-5, you need to go out to Barnes & Noble or get online to Amazon and buy one. Unfortunately, our black bookstores don't carry the DSM-5, but they need to start, because if you're raising black children in racist America, you need to know the diagnostic criteria. So when white folks come to you talking about, I think my son got ADHD, you can pull your own damn book out, read it in front of him and say, he's okay. But look at this now. Failure to pay attention. Loses things necessary to get his work done. Acts like he's driven by a motor. Taps with his hands or feet. Is unable to play quietly. What child do you have? Black or white, rich or poor, plays quietly. Blurts out answers, talks out of turn. And this is what ADHD is. This is actually the criteria. Do you know what I just described to you? A normal black boy. But guess what? Schools are operated largely by women. Mostly white women and some Negro females. They run the school system. Oh yes. And guess what? Being a normal